back, everybody, to the Success Partner Podcast. I am your host, Daya Naef. And today we have in the studio Dena Lefkowitz, who is the founder of Achievement by Design Coaching, and an author and a speaker. And I get to run into Dena from time to time at Provisors events. We were just talking about the holiday event. That was amazing. And I can't wait to hear more from Dena. And I think we're going to learn a lot because we're talking about the January 1 reset myth. Dena, jump in with that.
Well, let's face it, we're talking on January 19th, and a lot of us are already feeling like losers, right? We made lofty commitments, we wrote down resolutions, and the excitement and the momentum and the motivation is already waning. And my message is, don't feel like a failure. Things were not meant to start when the clock strikes midnight. Our bodies are on a rhythm, they're on a cycle. And just because the calendar flips doesn't necessarily mean we're ready to. I tend to think of the end of the year and the beginning of the new year as a great time to finish up what happened last year, to clean up anything that's outstanding, to take the watch that's sitting on your desk that needs a new battery to the jeweler after staring at it for 6 months, to close down rather than to rev up with a made up set of goals that you're going to embark on because it's January 1st.
I like that. And I think the rhythm that we kind of got ourselves into over the last several weeks was certainly not one of this lofty productivity that we think that we're going to start on January 1st.
Although that is a great starting point in a way for talking about the Hudson Cycle of Renewal, which is something that I think of when I think of change, because change doesn't necessarily happen at the stroke of January 1st, but it happens all throughout the year, all throughout our lives. We're always in some phase of change. And one of the fathers of life coaching, Frederick Hudson, created this cycle of change model, where you basically have 4 phases that you're always working through. And they are called Go For It, which is a phase filled with the energy, the excitement. It's the way we were feeling at the holiday party. Woo, we're having a great time. We're finishing up a great year. We accomplished a lot. We're feeling pretty proud of ourselves, and we're telling everybody about it and patting ourselves on the back and celebrating our mutual achievements. Well, what might happen the next day is we might not feel the same way, or the next week. Mm-hmm. All of that energy and excitement might have dwindled down to the next phase, which is the doldrums, a phase marked by loss of enthusiasm, loss of energy, loss of motivation, maybe loss of morale, where whatever excitement that happened isn't carrying us forward. Mm-hmm. And then the next phase is called cocooning. It's a slightly more active phase than the doldrums, but we're still not really ready to act. We're reassessing, we're figuring things out, we're journaling, maybe we're talking to a coach. And then the next phase is getting ready, when we're starting to feel that energy of motivation. The work that we did on ourselves during the cocooning and the doldrums is taking hold. We have a strong foundation, and we're really doing serious tasks. We're attending classes, we're doing interviews, we're talking to people, and we're really getting ready for what's going to be next. And that's the go for it stage, where we're all energy, we're all enthusiasm, we're all excitement. And that's the phase we all like to stay in.
Yeah. Well, we don't get to stay in phases. They wouldn't be phases if we could stay in them.
That's right. And if you think of a runner, if a runner never stopped running, they would never be a person anymore. They would just be a runner. So there has to be some, life is not a straight line to success. Mm-hmm. It takes dips and turns and twists. And if we think of that as part of success, if we think of failure as part of success, now we're on to something, because success can't happen without failure.
Yeah, we need the ups and downs and the bit of the roller coaster to be appreciative. And those side journeys and scenic routes are really what we discover about ourselves in life. We put
right. So I got a client last year who had just made partner in her law firm. And everything that led up to making partner was super exciting. The energy, the enthusiasm, the knowledge that this ascension was going to happen, it was all really exciting. There were parties, there were celebrations. And when it was over, she felt really stuck. Her role in the firm had changed. People weren't giving her the same work because
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't have two partners on a case. So suddenly everything felt different. And this amazing feeling that she thought she was going to have as a result of making partner, which she had, but it was brief, kind of plummeted. And she really didn't know what to do next. So that's another story of figuring out where you are, figuring out the things that you can do in that phase. Because if I told somebody who was in the doldrums to send 10 resumes out, they just wouldn't be able to. They're not at that phase of accomplishment. But there are things that they can do to ease themselves into the next phase. And usually in the doldrums, it's about taking care of yourself. It's about renewal. It's about resting up from whatever go for it thing you just did. It's about reckoning, taking in the things that you learned, throwing out the things that aren't serving you anymore, being cognizant of the difference.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Some people think about emotions and feelings like we're talking about as being like the soft skills, and they don't really want to talk about that. But I mean, how can we use that as information and not ignore it?
Well, I'll tell you that I made a client cry once. And I was trying to be comforting. And that experience put a light bulb over my head that said, hey, Dena, you might not be as good at communication as you thought you were. So if you're not willing to tap into your emotions, things like that are going to happen to you. Because what that situation involved was I was a young, nervous associate on the phone with a more skilled, experienced attorney who happened to be my client. And she called to express some dissatisfaction with the judge that we had on the case. And I kind of put up the verbal equivalent of a stop sign. And I talked over her to explain why this judge would be okay, thinking I was being reassuring, where she just felt unheard. And she sort of stammered, and then she started crying and hung up. I stared at the phone. What am I going to do now? This was a big case. I had a managing partner I was working with on it, and now the client just hung up on me. Before I could do anything, the phone rang, and it was her. And if I were giving a speech, I would say, guess what she wanted? And people usually shout out, to fire you. But she wasn't calling to fire me, Day. She was calling to apologize for crying. When I should have been the one apologizing for showing disrespect for a client, for interrupting her, for talking over her. And so if we think of emotions as soft things, then we won't ever train lawyers to survive situations like the one that I described and navigate them with some poise and style.
I know. I know. And we just, things that are not taught, things that we don't learn in school, like hopefully we've learned them, and hopefully we learn them at some point.
Well, doctors, I understand, learn bedside manner, although I have to say I haven't seen a whole lot.
Right. But I was being an elective.
I mean, there are rules of communication, and they use words like candid and prompt. And what do? We put off difficult conversations. So thinking of difficult conversations, breaking the news to a client on a case, delivering an outcome that might not be the desired, is a skill that is worth having for three reasons. The first is the law requires it. The law expects us to explain things to our clients in a way that maintains their faith in the civil justice system, et cetera. The second is business demands it. If we don't know how we're doing, if we don't ever ask our clients how we're doing, they might vote with their feet and leave us. Or
It's true.
associates might be making mistakes and not telling us about them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third reason is relationships need it. You can't get through any relationship in life without having some difficult conversations.
Yeah.
So you might as well get good at it so that you feel strong and secure and confident when you decide to embark on one.
Yeah, it makes sense, and like practicing it and getting better at it. And I've had clients who are fine in the office, but they really need to have a conversation with their spouse about something, and that all trickles through. Like, happy to work on that because that's impeding your business development or impeding your goals if you can't get on the same page with your spouse. So
That's
it's
right.
our whole life. We're holistic.
The
We're
whole
holistic.
person comes to work, not just the work person.
I know. I know. So if January 1st is arbitrary date or arbitrary time, that's not the best time to do a self-directed reset, then like when is the best time?
I think the best time is when you feel the stirrings of something in your life. Maybe you've plateaued at work. You're not getting any excitement or enjoyment out of the work, and there might be something that you need to up level. Maybe you want to take a course. Maybe you want to follow somebody else around and do a different kind of law.
Mhm.
When something feels stale or not happy with the progress, not happy with how much money you made last year, those signs of disenchantment are reasons to take a look at this kind of thing. Where am I? What just happened? What do I want? Between now and 6 months from now, what would I like to see happening more of in my life? 3 months, 90 days,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Think in shorter increments than a year, also.
Yeah. A year can seem so far away, and yet we know from the past few years they go by so quickly. Yeah, definitely. I always work with people to see what changes they can make in the situation that they're in. Like, we often, as humans, think it's the external. Oh, this firm is just not going well, or oh, this partner that I work for is just antiquated or something worse. But finding where you can make your own changes and interject your own leadership to make things to have some responsibility. And yes, at some point in time, that might be right. That might be 100%. This is not the right firm. This is not the right partner. But often we need to look at ourselves.
That is so true. Whenever I work with lawyers who are in career change or transformation, I'm on parallel tracks. One track is, of course, we're figuring out what you're going to do next. But on this track, you're still working there. So, what value might we be able to squeeze out? What additional experiences might we be able to have? What conversations might we be able to have that would make it more pleasant and palatable to work there? I was working with a lawyer years ago who was certain that she wanted to leave the law because she was working so many hours. But it turned out she was the one making herself work all those hours. Her boss didn't want her to. So as soon as she changed her work methods and style and hours, she fell in love with the law again and stayed right where she was, made partner, made more money. And this was like 10 years ago, and she's still there and loving it.
It's a beautiful story. Well, speaking of stories, tell us about your book.
Well, my book was born out of the pandemic. I do a lot of speaking and networking in support of my coaching business, and I always have a lot to say, as you can see. And during the pandemic, suddenly everything was shut down. There was nowhere to go. There was no one to talk to. There were no speeches to give. And I thought to myself, what can I do with this time that will make my offering stronger when the world comes back, that will make me better, that will heighten my profile? And a friend of mine had always been suggesting that I write a book, and I decided just to seriously consider it. And it's called Winning in Your Own Court: 10 Laws for a Successful Career Without Burning Out or Selling Out. It's published by the American Bar Association, and it's really about all the stuff that they don't teach us in law school, which is necessary for business, like getting business, like getting along with people and not making clients cry.
I love it. I love it. I think you have to at least once, I don't know, to realize that you're doing it right or wrong, and making that Because you made an emotional connection. So where do we find you to learn more?
My website is achievementbydesign.com. My email is Dena, Dena, at achievementbydesign.com. And my book is available anywhere books are sold at the American Bar Association, too.
Awesome. We will put all those links in the show notes. Thank you so much, Dena, for coming on the show today. This has been a great episode. Thank you, all our listeners. Please like, subscribe, and stay tuned.
Thank you.